Hello and welcome to Harrogate Stonefall Cemetery in North Yorkshire. I'm Max Dutton and I'm the Commonwealth War Graves Commission's Heritage Interpretation Officer and Historian. We are at the end of an amazing week of events that has been taking place across the United Kingdom. This has been the first ever Commonwealth War Graves Commission's War Graves Week, and we have been blown away by the support that we have had from people all across the United Kingdom, with people visiting us, engaging with us, going on our website, downloading tributes, getting involved, discovering War Graves Commission graves and memorials near them. And we have to begin by thanking everybody who has been involved with War Graves Week, whether it's been visiting one of our sites, taking part in one of our events, volunteering, even our staff. Everybody's been doing an amazing job learning about the men and women we commemorate. So thank you so much for that. Today, we are at Harrogate Stonefall Cemetery in North Yorkshire, and we're going to be having a little bit of a breather. We're going to be having a service that just recognises the men and women who the War Graves Commission commemorates here in Stonefall. And at the end, we're going to be having a little service of remembrance led by some local air cadets. So definitely stick around, hear some of the stories of the men who are commemorated here, and at the end, take part in a little service of remembrance. While War Graves Week is sadly coming to an end, we will, of course, be back next year, but just because it's over doesn't mean you can't get involved and still learn a little bit about the War Graves Commission near you. The best place that you can find out about doing just that is at the Commonwealth War Graves Commission's website, www.cwgc.org. And one of the best things you can do right now is go on our postcode search and find out whether there might have been someone who lived on your street or in your area who was involved with the First World War. Perhaps they were a service person, perhaps they were a loved one of a service person who died during the First or Second World Wars. And of course, if you want to continue discovering war graves near you, the best thing you can do is go onto the App Store and download the Commonwealth War Graves Commission's app, and that will lead you to war graves near you. It really is an amazing thing to be able to do. So today we're going to be talking to some fantastic air cadets, and then we're going to be having a little service of remembrance. We're also going to be finding out a little bit more about this remarkable cemetery here in North Yorkshire. But now we're going to see a little video about why War Graves Week is so important.
All across the world, and here in the United Kingdom,
a group of people from all walks of life work silently and in perpetuity, hidden away from everyday life and yet in plain sight for all to see.
Maintaining immense memorials to the missing which reach up to the sky, caring for the graves of the fallen carved from Portland stone.
Day in, day out, they work to maintain these places of memory, so that we will never forget the sacrifices made from as far back as 100 years ago.
Discover the sites that shaped the world we live in today.
Learn about the history of the two world wars.
Remember those who fought and died for peace. And never forget
these timeless words.
Their name liveth for evermore.
Hello and welcome back. Now, I've been joined by the fantastic, the brilliant, the wonderful Squadron Leader Dennis Thine, who's brought along a group of air cadets who we're going to be hearing from in a little bit. But first of all, and perhaps most importantly, tell us a little bit about the Air Cadets.
Well, the Air Training Corps was formed in 1941, and the purpose of the Air Training Corps is to help young people develop the qualities of leadership and good citizenship. And our motto is, which is one of the reasons that we're one of the largest participants of the Duke of Edinburgh's award.
It's an absolutely amazing way for young people to get involved and learn new skills and do all kinds of fantastic. Honoured to have you and the group of air cadets you brought with you today at Harrogate Stone Cemetery, where there are nearly 1,000 airmen, lots of Canadians, Australians, New Zealanders, and Brits all buried here. So it's fantastic to have air cadets here today, recognising the service of those of their forebears who went before. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with the air cadets.
Well, I joined the Air Cadets many, many years ago, and I've been in the Air Training Corps now 50 odd years. But everybody seems to have this illusion that you have to join the Air Cadets and to join the RAF. And it is a stepping stone into the RAF, but you don't necessarily have to join the RAF because, like I say, we're a youth organisation. And look at myself, I've been in the Air Training Corps now 50 years, never been in the armed forces. I loved it so much, I stayed because I liked it.
Fantastic, that's great to hear. How important is it that we get young people, air cadets in particular, of course, to visit cemeteries and memorials like this?
This year is the 80th anniversary of the Air Training Corps, and this is why we're getting involved with the Cemetery War Graves Commission, because I think it's very important that they realise where their heritage has come from. I mean, some of the gravestones here, you can see some of them are 17 and 18-year-old, same age as some of our cadets that are in the ATC now. So I think it's very important that it comes back to their own grassroots and they see what's on the other side and what the people have done before them.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. I must admit, it's amazing to have some of these people here, and it's heartbreaking to see the ages and some of these headstones and realise that the young people who we're about to go and talk to are the same age as some of the men who are commemorated here. It really, really brings it home. So we're now going to go and talk to some of these amazing young people that we've been talking so much about. Which squadrons are they from?
They are from 58 Harrogate Squadron and 1953 Knaresborough Squadron. They're the 6 cadets that are here today that are going to talk about the war dead that are buried in the cemetery today.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for coming down. We're now going to see a little video about joining the Commonwealth War Graves Foundation, which is a way that you can get involved with the work of the Commission and support us with telling the stories of those men and women the Commission commemorates. Hello and welcome back. Well, perhaps you've been inspired to join the Commonwealth War Graves Foundation after seeing that. Now, I've been joined by Corporal Tom Muir. Thank you very much for joining us and coming along. How did you get involved with the Air Cadets?
Well, I'd like to pursue a career in the RAF as an RAF medical officer, so I thought it would be a good place to learn the foundations and learn about the RAF lifestyle.
Well, thank you very much for your service to come, I suppose is the thing to say. And I hope you're having a fantastic time with the Air Cadets at the moment. Now, you've got an amazing story of a very young man to tell, if you wouldn't mind reading that story for us.
So, Sergeant Joseph Raymond Pollen joined the Royal Canadian Air Force in March 1943. Soon after finishing school, on his application, Joseph gave his birth date as the 13th of June 1924. Making himself 2 years older than his true age of 16. Joseph completed his initial training in Canada and arrived in Britain in May 1944. He began his training as an air gunner on the Wellington bombers at RAF Hixton, Staffordshire. 2 weeks after Joseph's arrival, on the night of the 27th of May 1944, he was on a training exercise when his aircraft's overboard emergency dinghy broke free from its housing behind the starboard engine and snagged on the rudder of the rear aircraft. The force of the impact and the huge drag created by the rubber dinghy ripped the aircraft in half. All 7 crew members, including Joseph, were killed. The 4 other Canadian members of the crew are buried near Joseph at Stonefall Cemetery. Upon his headstone are inscribed the words chosen by his parents, Lillian and Andrew. The inscription reads, his life's work is ended. He has crossed the swelling tide.
Thank you so much. And we're now going to go, you're now going to see some beautiful pictures of this wonderful cemetery in North Yorkshire. And it really is a beautiful cemetery, this. It's sort of a hidden gem amongst, in North Yorkshire. There are quite a few RAF cemeteries like this across the United Kingdom. Of course, the air war was deadly during the Second World War, and tens of thousands of aircrew gave their lives. If you'd like to know more, of course, you can go on our website, where there is a section all about Harrogate Stonefall Cemetery. And welcome back. So I'm now joined by Cadet Jano Gantio Houston, who we've been practicing saying his name, and I'm sure I've got it wrong. So tell me how I say it right.
It would be Jano Gantier Houston. But you're not the first one, so it doesn't really matter.
So I was close.
You were very close, yeah.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. How important is it that we remember the men that we are standing here surrounded by?
I think it's really important to remember them because we're living their legacy, and the freedom we have, we can only thank them for it. And the service that they gave to this country and to the rest of the world to keep us to keep our freedom is something that's very heroic and that we should always remember until the end of time, really.
Well said. Beautiful. And now you've got a story of a remarkable individual who rather defied the odds to serve during the Second World War. So please take it away.
Sergeant Isekele de Vivarata Komasavi, known as Ratu Dovi, was a descendant of the Fijian king Kakabau and the son of a high chief. He studied at Wanganui College, New Zealand, before returning to Fiji to train as a surveyor. After Dunkirk and the Battle of Britain, Ratu Dovi read that Britain needed every able-bodied man and asked his father for permission to volunteer to serve. With a family motto of fear God and honour the king, it was his father's duty to let him go. In 1942, Ratu Dovi was accepted into the Royal Air Force at the age of 21 and is believed to be the only black Fijian to have flown with the RAF during the Second World War. He trained in Canada before joining No. 232 Squadron, based on the south coast of England. He went on to fly Spitfires, defending southern England from attack and searching for German aircraft over occupied France and the Low Countries. From January to June 1943, the squadron moved to the Orkney Islands, where it protected Atlantic convoys before returning to the south coast to support Operation Overlord, or D-Day, the liberation of France. In early 1944, Ratu Dovi was diagnosed with lung disease and was hospitalized. He died in Aylesbury in October and was laid to rest here soon after. The inscription on Ratu Dovi's headstone is written in Fijian and translates as, "Thanks be to the Lord's name."
Thank you so much for reading that story of an amazing, remarkable man who came from across the seas to serve with the RAF. Thank you very much indeed. And do remember to comment on this Facebook feed. I will do my very best to answer any questions that come in if we have the opportunity to do so. And do like this video, of course, and share it. It really does help us to spread the word about the work of the War Graves Commission. We've had some really horrible weather here today, but it's hopefully not clouding over too much. Because we've got some amazing air cadets here looking extremely smart in their uniforms. And I'm now joined by Cadet Jack Evans. Hi, Jack. This is one of the first times you visited a Commonwealth War Graves Commission site. What are your thoughts?
Personally, it's very clean and it shows that you take pride in the people who have been laid here and you show you look after them.
Respect for them, I suppose, is the best way to put it, isn't it?
Yes.
Now you're going to tell us the story of Lloyd Hannah here, who's I think an unbelievably moving story. So please take it away.
Serving with 625 Squadron of the Royal Air Force, Flying Officer Lloyd Albert Hannah was stationed at RAF Kelston, Lincolnshire, when disaster struck on 14th October 1944. Eyewitness reports tell how Lloyd stayed the fully loaded bomber as his crew bailed out, manoeuvring it to avoid Lincolnshire's villages of Forby and Little Grimsley below. Thanks to his brave actions, the only lives lost were those of Lloyd and his bomb aimer, Flight Sergeant Lloyd Douglas Bennett. In recognition for their sacrifice, the villagers mounted a memorial plaque at St. Edith's Church, Little Grimsby. Lloyd Hannah was married and one of 9 children of Alan and Mary Hannah of Canada, 5 of whom served in the Canadian forces during the Second World War. Just 3 months after his death, Lloyd's younger brother, Pilot Harold Allen Hannah, died of wounds after his aircraft was hit during a bombing raid. Harold is also buried at Stonefall Cemetery in Plot G, Row F, Grave 12. Before his own death, Harold wrote to his older brother, "Please don't feel badly, Mother. He had one of the best deaths man could have, and his sacrifice, and by doing possibly the impractical, he saved the lives of 6 men. My one ambition is to be half the man he was." The brothers now lie just a few rows apart. Their headstones share the same personal inscription: "Greater love have no man than this. He gave his life that we might live."
Thank you very much for that beautifully read story. I mean, there are so many heartbreaking stories in this cemetery, but having 2 brothers who came all the way from Canada and are laid 10 meters apart, it really is a heartbreaking story. The brother who died later attended the funeral of the first. Just heartbreaking stuff, and so important that we remember them. Now, people from around the world have been getting involved with Wargraves Week on social media, and we're going to see some highlights of that now. And now I've been joined by the fantastic, fabulous, amazing, brilliant Elizabeth Smith, who is the public engagement coordinator for the Northeast region and looks after this amazing cemetery. And this really has been a labour of love, learning all about this site. Tell us a little bit about why there is a Commonwealth War Graves Commission cemetery here in Harrogate.
So we've got this beautiful site here in Harrogate. It's one of 5 regional RAF cemeteries that the government asked to be created during the Second World War. And as you said, it's a beautiful site, but the responsibility for looking after it does not lie with me. I'm the person who tries to bring this alive to the people of Harrogate and to our visitors, but we've got a fantastic gardening team who work out from this site, just like all our gardeners working right across the commission. They're extremely dedicated to their work, and they make it look as beautiful as it does today.
You took me around on a brilliant tour today. We've had a Wargraves Week event today. We've had the tents up, we've had local dignitaries around, we've had the MP, we've had the Lord Lieutenant, we've had the Mayor. Wonderful to see all those people here, of course, but also to see lots of ordinary people coming to visit, going on the tours. And I was lucky enough to be guided round by you and hear some of the stories of the men and women who are commemorated here, some of which we are having told to us by the fantastic Air Cadets, but you've unearthed some amazing stories while doing research for this, and you've got some pictures of it.
That's right, and I've also been working with our tour guides as well, who've taken a lot of people around today. So I've got this photo here. There's been a really long link, obviously, with the people from Harrogate with this site, and this shows a lady called Nora Greaves, and she was volunteered via the Royal British Legion to come and lay wreaths at one of the graves here of Cato's graves, and she kept up that for 40 years, up until the 1980s. She would come twice a year to lay wreaths, and she wasn't alone in doing that. There were hundreds of local families who volunteered and who were part of this kind of a grave adoption scheme.
Now, I'm a Harrogate boy originally. I'm home for me, so it's amazing to hear that the people of Harrogate have such a close connection to this cemetery. But that continues to this day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it continues today. We've got one man, John Charlesworth, who's been visiting this site for over 70 years as part of the Stonefall adoption scheme. But we've got lots of young people who come and visit this site. So in the last few weeks, I have, and with the tour guides, we've given tours to nearly 900 junior soldiers from the Army Foundation College in Harrogate. And also in 2019, which was the last year I could do this, I brought 500 primary school children to this site. And they're always really inspired when they come by the stories that we've got of these brave men and women who are buried here.
And if people want to discover war graves near them, and these stories play out all over the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission cares for war graves at over 12,000 locations across the United Kingdom, commemorating 300,000 First and Second World War service personnel. So I and Elizabeth can almost guarantee that there is a war grave near you in your local churchyard that you can go and visit. And the best way to find it is by downloading the CWGC app and using that search near me function. It really is remarkable what you might find, and you might just discover the grave of someone that you didn't know was local to you, and then you might go on to discover their story. Really worthwhile doing. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Okay, let's get back to and I've been joined by Cadet Daniel Greyhead. Thank you very much for coming down today and giving up your Friday. You've just joined the Cadets. This is one of the first things you've done with them, but you've got quite a cool reason for why you wanted to join the Cadets.
Yes, my aunt was a flying instructor, and my mum was a cadet and went on to become a flying glide instructor.
What are you looking forward to doing with the Air Cadets?
Mainly flying, but also just learning about the organisation and the history behind it.
Fantastic. And now you're going to tell us a story of somebody buried just here.
Yes. Squadron leader Kenneth Stammers was a highly skilled and decorated pilot. In 1941, he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Medal for his skilled low-level bombing attacks of enemy territory. And in May 1943, he received the Distinguished Flying Cross. His wing commander called him an ideal leader of men who has consistently shown exceptional devotion to duty. Following his second operational tour, Kenneth became an instructor and was awarded the Air Force Cross in September 1944. After the war, and following the death of his first wife, Kenneth remarried. News. It was from here that he made his last flight, test flying at California on the 10th of May 1946. Tragically, a fire in the wing caused Kenneth's aircraft to crash, killing all on board. Kenneth left behind his wife for 3 months, who was pregnant with their son.
Oh, it's to survive the whole of the Second World War, die in a training accident, family, these stones look the same and they're all uniform and beautiful. Sometimes it's so important to remember that these were real people who lived real lives and had families and people who loved them. So thank you so much for bringing that story to life and bringing it so well. So thank you very much. And we've had a few comments in, somebody saying how beautiful the cemetery looks. It does look fantastic. The amazing team who work here at Harrogate Stonefall have been doing a brilliant job working their little socks off over the last few days to make sure that this cemetery looks as good as it possibly can for War Graves Week. It's also worth saying that we've had a few comments from people who have volunteered here today. We see your comments. Thank you so much for volunteering with us. We really, really do appreciate it. And I'm now joined by Cadet Oliver Jowett. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Would you encourage other people, not just Air Cadets, but other people to come and visit War Graves Commission sites like this?
Yeah, I definitely would, because there's people who have served us and saved many lives, hundreds, thousands of lives, and they're here, and you might as well see it.
Definitely, there's so much to discover when you come to a place like this, and you're going to now tell us a story of someone who did just like you said, someone who saved hundreds, if not thousands, of lives. So please take it away.
Pilot Officer William Stuart McMullen. For sheer self-sacrificing heroism, your husband's action will be remembered and honoured by the people of Darlington for years to come. These were the words of the Mayor of Darlington, Jimmy Blummer, who in 1945 wrote to William's wife and young daughter after his heroic self-sacrifice saved the lives of hundreds of Darlington residents. Serving with the Royal Canadian Air Force, William was stationed at RAF Middleton St. George. On 13th of January 1945, he and his 6 crew took off aboard a Lancaster bomber to take part in a training exercise over the North Yorkshire moors. Only 10 minutes from the end of the exercise, one of the aircrafts caught fire. At 2,500 feet, William ordered the crew to parachute to safety. The last to leave was Sergeant Lewington, who gestured for McMullen to join him. Air Ministry reports state that William shouted back, "It's only me for it. There are thousands down below." William stayed at his controls, directing the stricken bomber to crash in a nearby empty field. Following the crash, the Darlington Gallant Airmen Fund was established, raising £1,000 for William's family. However, William's wife returned the money, saying that with Britain having sustained such war damage, it should be used there. In further tribute, Lingfield Lane near the crash site was renamed McMullen Road, and a memorial stone raised in his honour can be visited there today. Fittingly, the personal inscription upon his headstone, chosen by his wife, reads, "Heroically he died, so some might live."
Thank you for reading that story. This story gets me every time that I hear it. It's one of those heartbreaking stories of someone who stayed at the controls of their aircraft, sacrificing their life so that their comrades could get away, and then so that no one beneath would be hurt by the crashing aircraft. Remarkable self-sacrifice. And that story's played out so many times in this beautiful cemetery. It really is a wonderful, peaceful place of remembrance for those who gave their lives. We look after over 1,000 graves here at Harrogate Stonefall, nearly 2/3 of whom are like Pilot William McMullen there, who were from Canada, because of course this is overseas for Canadians. So when they fall in action during the First and Second World War, they're buried in sites in the United Kingdom. It's so wonderful to have the cadets here. We're coming up to our last story. Do remember to hit that like button, maybe give it some love, hitting the love button when our wonderful cadets are talking. And we're now at our final story, and I'm here with Corporal Abby Salt. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for standing here so long. You're the last on the list. How are you doing? Are you okay still?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, it's definitely hot chocolates all round by the time we're finished here. Okay, so we've heard some fantastic stories, read so brilliantly by your fellow cadets, so no pressure. But does it surprise you, when we've had a wander around earlier, how young some of these people are?
Yeah, it definitely does. Considering how old I am, I'm only 17, and looking around, and there's been quite a few 17-year-olds, and just thinking of what they did at my age, it's absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, can't believe what they all did for everyone. So yeah.
And now you've got a great story for us to finish with. So Abby, take it away.
Ulrich Leslie Luck Yang was born in 1922 in the port of Spain, Trinidad. He volunteered in 1942 during the Second World War and trained as a pilot with the Trinidad Air Training Scheme, part of the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan, which aimed to train 50,000 aircrew annually from across the Commonwealth. After 4 months of initial training in Trinidad, Ulrich spent the next few months in Canada. By 1943, Ulrich had been posted to England, where he continued his training. In November of that year, Ulrich was stationed at RAF Milford in Northumberland as part of 59 Operational Training Unit. There, Ulrich started a 10-week course learning to fly a Hurricane fighter plane. On the 14th of January 1944, Ulrich's plane crashed while engaged on a low-level cross-country flight over Northumberland. Ulrich was buried with full military honours at Stonefall Cemetery, with the service conducted by the Roman Catholic chaplain. The personal inscription upon his headstone was chosen by his parents, Joseph and Maud. In memory of my second son, life, work well done. Now cometh rest.
Thank you very much for reading that lovely story. And we're now going to, if you haven't heard enough of me, we're now going to watch a little video about the ways you can find out about the work of the War Graves Commission around the UK through our brilliant UK portal.
We've all been spending a lot of time at home recently, but that doesn't mean we should stop exploring. You might know our work in France and Belgium, but here in the United Kingdom, there are thousands of remarkable stories right on your doorstep. From pilots to ground crew, you can find the men and women of the air services who fought in the skies above our homes. And then there are those service people who died in training and those who died in hospital after returning from the front lines. And we should never forget the sailors of the Royal Navy and the Merchant Navy who sailed on hostile seas to defend our island nation and to keep us supplied. There are more than 300,000 servicemen and women commemorated right here in the United Kingdom. You can find their names on our memorials to the missing. You can find their graves in our beautifully maintained cemeteries. And perhaps you can find one or two of them in your local churchyard. There's never been a better time to rediscover your local history than now with the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. Well, I hope perhaps that has maybe inspired you to go onto the Commonwealth War Graves Commission's website, look for the Our War Graves, Your History tab in the
Did you notice that technical hitch? That was purely to prove that we were live to everybody watching around the world, and we have people watching from all around the world. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got people from Canada, Australia, America, all joining to watch us at this moment. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, if you were inspired by the video of me wearing shorts, not by the shorts, but by the content, to discover more about war graves in the United Kingdom, then go to the Commonwealth War Graves Commission's website, hit the Visit Us tab and look for the Our War Graves, Your History section. And there you will find out loads of information about some of the amazing places that the Commonwealth War Graves Commission cares for right here in the United Kingdom. Now, if you're further afield, of course, there's loads of information about our work around the world, and that is definitely worth checking out. So today is the end. We're almost at the end of War Graves Week. And you should always finish as you began by thanking everybody who has attended one of our events, downloaded an online tribute, been on our website and looked at information, downloaded leaflets and gone on tours. All of our fantastic volunteers. Thank you so much for all your hard work. We couldn't have done it without you. There is still time for you to discover more about the work of the War Graves Commission by visiting CWGC.org. Have a look on our postcode search. It's amazing to find out who lived in your area following the First World War. And of course, if you're interested in getting involved with the work of the Commission, there are opportunities to volunteer with us. But War Graves Week at its heart is all about recognising and remembering the service of those who gave their lives during the First and the Second World War. Not just the people buried here in Harrogate Stonefall, but all around the world. And I'm very proud to be able to say that the fantastic young people of the Air Cadets are now going to lay some tributes on your behalf in memory of those who gave their lives during the two world wars. Well, thank you so much to the cadets for laying those tributes on our behalf in memory of those service personnel who gave their lives during the First and the Second World War. And thank you to all of those amazing cadets who read stories for us today. I'm sure you will agree with me, they did an amazing job. And this is it. We are at the end of our last broadcast for Wargraves Week. If you want to see any of the content we've created, you can go onto our website and you can access it all there, all through our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, my name's Scott Smith and welcome to Brookwood Military Cemetery for the first of our live broadcasts this week for Wargraves Week.